Welcome to Historically Sedating. Tonight, we will be discussing a specific period, not a war, not a scandal, not a dramatic change. We will discuss the administrative reforms implemented during the minority of King Henry III of England. The years between 1216 and 1227, a period of meticulous record-keeping and procedural consolidation. A period where the exciting turmoil of the Magna Carta gave way to the necessary and deeply uninteresting work of governance. King Henry was 9 years old when his father, King John, died. The kingdom was in a state of civil war. Barons had invited a French prince to claim the throne. It was a precarious situation. But tonight, we will not focus on the fighting. We will focus on what happened after the fighting mostly stopped. After the Regency Council was formed, under the guidance of the elderly and notably cautious William Marshal, and later the papal legate Guala Bicchieri, and later still, the justiciar, Hubert de Burgh. The primary concern was stability, and stability is achieved through routine. The first task was the reissuing of the Magna Carta. This was done in November of 1216, and again in 1217. And a third time in 1225. Each reissue was slightly different. Minor clauses were removed. Language was clarified. The 1225 version is considered the definitive text. It was this version that was entered onto the statute rolls. The process of reissuing involved consultation with the magnates, but not a full parliament. That institution was still in its embryonic stage. The consultations were likely quiet, held in drafty chambers, involving much nodding and the rustling of parchment. A key figure in daily administration was the Chancellor, Ralph de Neville. He held the Great Seal. The Great Seal was used to authenticate official documents, writs, charters, letters. Ralph de Neville was a bureaucrat. He kept the seal, even when the king came of age, a point of mild contention for many years. He was reliable. He maintained the chancery rolls. These were long sheets of parchment sewn together at the top, written in a clear, court hand. They recorded the outgoing correspondence of the government, rolls for every year, stored in boxes in a room. Then there were the finances. The Exchequer resumed its biannual sessions at Michaelmas and at Easter. Sheriffs from the counties would travel to Westminster. They would bring their collected revenues and their accounts. These accounts were audited using a system of tallies. A tally stick was a piece of wood, notched to represent a sum of money. The stick was split lengthwise. The sheriff kept one half, the Exchequer kept the other. This was the receipt. The process was slow. It involved counting coins, sorting them by weight and purity. It was accompanied by the faint smell of dust and old money. The conversations were about scutage rates and the farm of the county and debts owed to the crown. These debts were carefully recorded on the pipe rolls, so named because they were rolled into pipe-like cylinders for storage. The pipe roll, for the 9th year of Henry's reign, 1224 to 1225, records that the Sheriff of Yorkshire paid £63, 17 shillings and 4 pence for the county farm, and that the borough of Lincoln owed 1 mark for an unspecified fine. These entries go on for pages, column after column of numbers, Roman numerals, a sea of I's and V's and X's, meticulously added and checked by clerks, who dipped their quills into iron gall ink and whose hands likely ached by the end of the day. The minority government also saw the gradual restoration of royal authority in the castles and shires. This was not done through grand campaigns, but through legal process and the appointment of loyal and undistinguished local sheriffs. Writs were sent. Inquiries were made. If a baron had seized a castle during the war, a formal request for its return would be issued. If he refused, another writ would be issued. The process could take months, sometimes years. It was a matter of persistent and unglamorous pressure. In 1225, in exchange for a tax of 1/15 on movable goods, the king again confirmed the Magna Carta. This tax was assessed by local jurors in each village. They would list the belongings of their neighbors, their grain, their animals, their tools. The sums were then sent to the Exchequer, where they were entered onto a new roll, a tax roll, which was then filed with the other rolls in the room with the boxes. By 1227, King Henry was 21. He declared himself of full age. He dismissed Hubert de Burgh and began to rule in his own name. The minority was over, but the administrative habits formed during those 11 years, the reliance on rolls and writs and seals, they persisted. They became the steady rhythm of English government, a rhythm not of drums or trumpets, but of the soft scratch of a quill, the gentle thud of a seal, the methodical turning of a parchment page. Thank you for listening to Historically Sedating. May your thoughts be as quiet as the archives, and your sleep as deep as the filed records of a peaceful reign. Good night.